Hey there, Jester here. We've been having a bit of a busy week here at the castle. Well, I was doing a little bit of cleaning and just dusting some shelves, and I opened a drawer that I was certain was just full of DVDs because it was, in the DVD cabinet. But what I found instead was a bunch of ribbons and other craft supplies that I had entirely forgotten that I had stashed in that drawer. There were 3 other drawers that I knew were full of my stuff, but this one, for some reason, I had completely forgotten about. And the most exciting discovery I had was there were some pipe cleaners, but most importantly, I found a big stack of felt. Now, I knew I had this, at some point, 20 years ago. But when I didn't find it in the closet when I was cleaning that out earlier, I assumed that I must have either used it all up or, given it away to a crafty friend who could have used it. And I had completely forgotten that I had put it in this other drawer. And there's rather more of it than I thought there was. I thought there might be half of this. And the other interesting thing is, I know that it is quite old because it still has, like the ones that aren't open, still have price stickers on them. And not only price stickers, but they are from Zellers, which more or less went out of business in 2013. And these sheets are 4 to $1. These days it's more like 75 cents a sheet. So I am well equipped with felt for the next while. But then after cleaning out that drawer, I thought, well, it's been a while. Let's try to clean out the other 3 drawers that I had stuff in. And there is quite a lot of it. Yeah. Most of the bulk is taken up by ribbon pieces. These are from the doctor's days at Planet Basket, where they were doing, making gift baskets for Christmas. And whenever a roll of ribbon ended up, not having enough ribbon left on the end to make the proper bows, the doctor would simply abscond with the leftovers. So we ended up with quite a pile. And there are things that go back even further, like not just to... Yes, Mac? Yes, you can go in the bag if you like. Not just back to high school, but even back to the doctor's childhood. And now it is my job to try to sort through all of this. Now, some of it is fairly easy, like, this sort of crinkly... Yeah, you're not getting quite the colors on the camera, but, iridescent paper. I like to use this in resin projects, and I have a bin where I keep all this, so this I will take to the office to put in that bin. And the ribbons I will need to put away somewhere else, and there are even more. Now, I knew I had the gold. I didn't remember that I had red or purple. And Another gold. And sirens. Comes of living in a city. And there are some other things like photo paper. I never... Yes, Mac? Yes, you can go in the bag. He's going in the bag. Now, I never print photos, but this is definitely you never know. Let's keep this. So this will also go in the office where it will be closer to the printer. Problem is just, where do I put it for now? Just add it to that pile. Let's see, what else is there? Yes, out of 4 drawers, what's covering the table is quite a bit, but I have a full garbage bag from my initial go through getting rid of fabric scraps that are too small or things that are broken. Oh. I thought, no, I was looking at the camera display and it looked like there was something dangling in front of me, and I realized it was just one of the icons on the camera. One of those days. Not all with it. There were a lot of beads in there back from, I know this was high school. This was before I really started doing any actual beading. This is just a collection of ones that I like the colors, and this is simply something for the texture of it. I used to have a little container of beads that I would sometimes run my fingers through, but I eventually ended up giving those to a friend who does a lot more beadwork. This I think I'll keep. It has no particular use, but it's still nice to play with sometimes. Yes, and that friend who does beadwork, she did more bead weaving kind of things. I wouldn't have made these. She would have. But they ended up in my containers. She does it for a living now. And also, this necklace, which is, I don't know if it was always, collar sized or if it used to hang a little lower. We have gained weight since then. I don't remember if this was specifically for me or if she just made it and left it at my place. But maybe I'll show those to her later. And then there are things that I had completely forgotten we had that existed, which is a shark tooth necklace. Well, it's the kind of thing the doctor would be into, but where did we get it? It was a gift? Did we pick it up at a tourist trap somewhere? Who knows? One thing I do know is that the doctor used to collect keychains. We found a bunch of those. Now, I think we got rid of most of them. But then the doctor kept some of the more interesting ones, like, looks like a little walnut. And you open it up, and there's a wiggly bug. Where did this come from? Who knows? There was one that I knew where it came from. Here he is. There we go. little koala. Come on, focus on it. Yes, I know this is from the doctor's childhood, because one of the doctor's friends had family in Australia. She went there often, and she would have brought this back at some point. There's that other one. There's a lot of stuff on this table. Ah, there he is. There you go. There's a beetle in resin. And I have no idea where this one came from. Probably a little later in life, because the doctor wasn't quite as interested in insects when they were younger. They liked the natural world, but they weren't as focused on insects at the time. So one of the main things that I found in those drawers was, cloth scraps. And while I have set some aside in this pile that are, big enough and still feel nice, because some, I don't know, the texture goes off if you leave it too long, especially in anything stretchy. But there's some that I'm going to keep for my own purposes. But a lot were just little tiny scraps. But when the doctor was sorting through things, they ended up setting aside a lot of tiny scraps that they say just give them some sort of memories. Like sparkly black one that their mother had made various Barbie clothes out of for them. And then this sort of fleecy purple, again, might have been Barbie clothes. And then some were just, remembering from a very long time. I don't know if they were anything specific that was made with them. That one, and this red. No, it's not showing up as nice on the camera, but it's a fairly nice red. And then there are other ones that there are specific memories of. Now, unfortunately, there's only a tiny scrap of this. This had been part of, this had been a blanket, or the outside, like a duvet cover. And this is where the doctor learned the term paisley from, because it had this paisley pattern. But now there's only this little scrap left, but they want to keep it. And then just various other pieces that, for whatever reason, witnessed some kind of memory response in them. What was amusing later was I was cleaning out another drawer, and I found this, thinking, oh no, did the doctor keep their retainer from high school? But no, they were just using it as a little keepsake box, and some of the things they had in here were those same fabric scraps. So I guess those are quite important to the doctor. Also this little bit of orange yarn, and that I can tell you a story about. Because I'd found this in the closet. And what is this? Sort of a yarn headdress. can't wear it as well because, yes, it was basically a headband with some dangly bits on it. Yes, this was back in high school. One of the ones in the friend group had brought, I don't remember how they acquired this giant bag of very thick yarn, but the doctor and their friend group spent a happy lunch hour making stuff out of it, and then wearing it to class. The doctor was always the weird child. They did try much harder to be normal in grade school, but once they hit high school, they just kind of gave up and leaned into being strange. But this, I expect, was just kept as a happy memory. It's one of the interesting things about being a pack rat is going through your stuff a decade or two later and finding things. It take too long to go through all of this, but that was the parts that stood out. Now I need to go through this pile one last time and, give the final judgment on what we are going to keep, because it may come in useful someday, and what we think we can safely throw out. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with all this ribbon, but I'll figure something out. It's still very pretty, even if we're probably not going to just make bows out of it. So, until next time, stay crafty. Mac? I know you're in there. Your butt's hanging out.